Hey, welcome to episode 4. We're going to be chatting about basically what the expectations are, what expectations people put on you while you're pregnant, as far as like C-section versus vaginal birth, drugs, no drugs while you're giving birth, breastfeeding, bottle feeding, co-sleeping, sleep training, so that kind of stuff, right?
Just those things. Not that that's a lot or anything.
Things. Let's just jump right into it. Did you have a vaginal birth?
Girl, I pushed a watermelon out. Yep, for real. I had a natural birth. Levi was 7 pounds, 12 ounces. I made it to 8 centimeters before I decided to get an epidural, not because of pain, but because I was so terrified of fitting ahead through my lady part. And yeah, so I ended up opting in for drugs. And let me tell you, there were a lot of opinions.
Oh,
A lot.
I have my own opinions of and
Oh, huh? Oh, you're so opinionated.
so opinionated. Was that your plan all along, was to have a vaginal birth?
So yeah, I was a low risk pregnancy because of, I guess, age, weight, all kinds of stuff. I didn't have really any complications during the pregnancy, so I was a good candidate for a vaginal birth. I really didn't have any plan. Like, I didn't even think C-section the entire time. I didn't really allow myself to think it. I kind of had a mindset like, okay, we're going vaginal birth. It's going to happen. I didn't really know how it was going to happen. I mean, I know how it was going to happen, but I could not, until you're in that moment, you really don't know how gravity can just take hold of your body and do those things for you. So, wasn't really sure what to expect, but I knew that that was something I wanted to do. I just wanted that experience. So I was lucky enough to get to have a vaginal birth, and I planned the whole time to do it without the drugs. I wanted to have it as natural as possible. There's a lot of different opinions on bringing your child in, like, does the epidural kind of affect them in any sort of way? But I chickened out and I decided that I didn't need to feel that much pain, and I had had such an enjoyable pregnancy so far. I figured, you know what, why not end it on a high note, right? Why
Wow.
not just let it be as peaceful as possible and not bring him into any stress? Because, like, the lady next to me did not have an epidural, and I know this because I heard her screaming through the walls. And I decided at that point, like, okay, you know what, I want to have the best experience. You want the most memorable kind of, you want it to be happy, right? So I opted in for the epidural.
Right?
Right?
But it doesn't always go as planned.
But, so a big part of why I didn't want the epidural, really, like, yes, a lot of it, of course, I didn't want Levi to be brought into a world where he was already kind of experiencing any kind of side effects from this. But another thing was, I was terrified of the needle. My mom and everyone in her generation told me rumors that the needle's this big. It's really not. And I'm terrified of needles, so that played a really important role. But the needle's like this small. The guy knew what he was doing. I tried to awkwardly make a joke whenever I got it, though, because I was shaking. I had convulsions, like, actually, like, but I was so nervous, and so I asked him if he came here often, and he did not find it funny. But I was so nervous. Anyway, so yeah. Do you have a plan? Are you vaginal birth, C-section? What's happening here?
Have no plan. Our plan is to go with the flow. Obviously, I'd like to have a vaginal birth, but depending on the size of the baby at this point and depending on what my body can do, I'm open to doing anything that's going to be the safest for the baby. So if that ends up being a C-section, then so be it. But yeah, I think most people, with the exception of a couple people I know that like planned to have a C-section because they wanted to have a C-section, most people that I've talked to want to have a natural vaginal birth.
When you say they wanted to have a C-section, you mean they were just nervous about actually getting the baby out, or for health reasons, or?
Yeah, I know of two specific people for the same reason. They basically, one's a nurse and one's an old friend of mine, and they both said they plan when they have their first baby to just schedule a C-section because they don't want to do any sort of work. They just want to be drugged up, which is strange to me. But I mean, after you've carried a baby for that long, don't you think that you want to go through all the motions? But I guess there's like controversy in all of those things, right?
There is no right or wrong way to have a baby. I've heard people on social media that say they've been shamed for having a C-section. You know, with the exception of the two people that you told me about, it's not a choice, you know, like the baby's going to come out one way or the other. So does it, like you said, does it really matter as long as it's the safest way? And every birth experience is so unique that really women shouldn't judge other women for the way that they get the baby out, as long as you safely get your baby out.
I completely agree. And I hear the same sort of controversy with the drugs or no drugs. And even like my mother-in-law, I feel like some of the time has been a little bit shaming with like, well, I had 3 huge boys and I had them.
You had 3 huge boys.
And I had
Him.
no drugs. And I'm like, okay, well, not everyone can do that. So my mom also had 2 vaginal births, no drugs. So those are kind of my like people that I'm looking up to now at this point of like my influencers, like my closest family influencers. But yeah, I don't think there should be any shame in one way or the other. There's no right or wrong. And if someone chooses, to have the drugs, fine. So it's not my baby. I don't care.
Right. Not my baby, not my problem.
Exactly. And at this point, I would like to have like a natural childbirth, no drugs, but like I'm very open to doing anything that feels right in the time. Like in that
Right.
moment, I'm very open to making a completely new decision or choice that's going to make the experience more pleasurable. That should I say
It's
pleasurable?
no, yeah. No, I know exactly what you mean. And whether pleasurable is the right choice of words or not. I know what you're saying. Like, you want the experience to be enjoyable. You don't want to look back and be like, oh my God, I was in such pain. I don't even remember this baby coming out, right? If you need to get the epidural, don't worry about judgment from other people. It's what's right for you and your family.
Exactly. So when you went to go, did you have a birth plan? Or was your birth plan to just wing it?
No, right. That would seem like my birth plan, right? Just gonna go see what happens. No, so I had a birth plan, but my doctor kind of shut it down. My OB-GYN, I asked her if I could use a squat bar. I guess what I read, it's kind of similar to like a ballerina's bar that they hold on to and they do plies. Because I wanted gravity to assist in the situation. Like I said, I had planned on doing natural without the epidural. And so you can still stand up. But she told me she refused. She's like, sorry, we don't do that. We don't want to catch the baby that way, basically. I guess it gives opportunity for the baby to slip out. I don't really know why. But she kind of like put me off from it. So I bounced around on a little bouncy ball for a little bit. That was part of my birth plan. I had some lavender essential oils in the room. I did not have a playlist. I really couldn't hear anything that would, like you hear what's in your bubble and that's about it. So I don't think a playlist would have made any difference to me. And I don't know. Yeah, I had a plan. But it doesn't go according to plan. Do you have one?
Yes, I have a very detailed plan that I've made that I've now decided is a little erratic. It's a little, it's too structured. So at first I was like, oh, I'm not going to have a birth plan. But then as I started researching things, I was like, oh my gosh, there's so many elements that go into giving birth. I didn't know you have all these options. I thought you just show up and then you push and then, for like $1,000 and the doctor delivers the baby, right? Well, no, that's not really how it goes, because when I went to go see my doctor in the second trimester, she was like, do you guys have a birth plan? And I was like, I guess I'll go home and research all this. So I was like, researching birth plans and options and whatever. And then I went down a rabbit hole and got carried away of like specifications. And so
Right.
some of those specifications I'll probably still stick with, as far as like having some essential oils, maybe possibly having like a chanting playlist or something in case I want to listen to it, or something that's like can make me more in the better mindset. Um, but other than that, no, I just really want the lights dimmed. Like that's like the only thing.
Because
Yeah.
for like peace of mind, or so you don't see anything, or so Isaac doesn't see anything?
Well, more because I feel like hospitals, and I don't know if this is from like past experiences in hospitals and like having like old trauma, but like I feel like it's so bright and it just
Oh,
feels
like dark white. Yeah, it feels really medical, not like organic experience, I guess.
so tranquil. Yeah, something.
Yeah.
So I feel like I definitely want the lights dimmed if possible. Just pretty much that. And then Isaac and I have talked about they have photographers that are on call in the hospital, and you can basically hire them on the spot, and they can come in the room. You pretty much don't notice that they're even there, from what I've heard. And they stand back from the doctors, and they're super professional, and they take whatever pictures from whatever angles that you want. So if you want them from down below, they'll do that. If you want them just from up above, they'll do that. But they kind of catch the experience, via video and photographs. We're considering that. But other than that, no, nothing too crazy.
I like that. I kind of wish that we would have had some sort of photography. We haven't done any professional photography yet, so I'll be looking into that one.